It's a great time to be a Yuji Itadori fan because whenever Yuji is the focus of a chapter, I gotta be honest, the quality jumps through the roof, which says a lot because this series has been nothing but consistent. But 256 and 257 of Yuji vs Sukuna has been gas. And each time they fight, Yuji gets incredibly stronger each time, and whether he'll admit it or not, Sukuna has had to be more defensive against Yuji than he'd like to in most of their recent fights. And before I get into the meat and potatoes, I will say I did enjoy the inclusion of Miguel. If you were going to insert him into this was probably the most practical way of doing so. And Ino is what I would call my mid-card GOAT, meaning he isn't in my top 10 or even really top 20 if I list out the characters, but whenever he gets some shine, I'm always here for it. I'm glad we got to see Ryu from him, and he was actually very clutch in this chapter. Well, somebody's theory out there definitely came true, because at the beginning of chapter 257, Sukuna says Kenjaku was snuggled up with a reincarnated version of his brother, or to be specific, what was supposed to be his twin, and out came our MC Yuji, which I've seen people, and me included, research the actual Japanese mythology realm of Sukuna, or if you played the Neo video game, pretty much the same thing. And one of the things known about him is that he has a twin brother, which is why if you see the actual real picture of Sukuna, or like what he was supposed to look like, it's 2 heads on 1 body and 4 arms. Gege has been taking pieces of the actual mythology and flipping it to create Sukuna that we have now. Now Sukuna, he ate a piece of his brother from starvation and from his mother's lack of blight, which you could pretty much say for his lack of love and attention for him. And the brother's soul pretty much bounced around and fell into the hands of Kenjaku, and the story writes itself there. It's interesting how Sukuna doesn't care or value love, yet it seems like as a child, that lack of attention he got and pretty much abandonment shaped him into what he is now. And I don't mean in a way of, oh, Sukuna could have been good, but the level of power he reached might have taken longer to attain. Gotta say, Urame sweating at the thought of Yuji possibly reaching a level of Sukuna raised my eyebrow, because Urame normally doesn't care about statements like this. But this is the first time they looked worried about Sukuna. The actual fight itself was a banger. I mean, 7 black flashes on Sukuna, really 8 if you include last chapter. Yuji is really the one that is blessed by the sparks of black. Considering Sukuna is weakened and he can't use RCT at a high output right now, Yuji is tearing him up. I love the callback to Yuji versus Choso with the 2 sizing each other up at the start. Yuji's dodging and parrying against Sukuna's punches and kicks. I think even Sukuna knows using close combat isn't going to benefit him as much as he think he would. I mean, he's been in Yuji's body, so he should know just how deadly Yuji's close combat is. And man, those freaking arms and claws he has are just raw as fuck. I just wish Sukuna's cleaves and dismantles are practically doing nothing to Yuji. We all know pain is nothing to Yuji because he's eating these and walking Sukuna down. He doesn't give a fuck about them slashes or those crippled punches. You gonna remember Yuji right now, Sukuna, because Yuji is now officially confirmed to have more than one cursed technique. The blood manipulation he gained from eating Death Wound pages 4 through 9, I think everyone knew that was the case when he came with the new arms. And even before then, when Yuji and Choso were going over some stuff during the Gojo fight, so we all speculated that he was going to get blood manipulation at some point. And then seeing him use piercing blood in 256 point blank is really cool. Something about using blood manipulation just fits. Like if you gave him all 3 of the big family curse techniques, I feel like blood manipulation just fits him way better. And Choso has been coaching him on using it. Still, the arms haven't been explained, because if that's flowing red scale, that's an intense version of it to completely change your arms. But I could see more blood manipulation being used after he eventually runs out of black flashes, because maybe each of the 4 through 9 Death Wound paintings gonna have their own characteristic, because we know curse techniques take up on the user. Like Akechiju could stretch his arms, Esso had them and the little butterfly wings, so that's something to look out for, especially for me because I love this technique. The second technique that Yuji gained is finally Sukuna's Shrine technique that he awakened through Black Flash. All the way from chapter 12 and 245 chapters later, it is finally paid off, except it's a little different. Normally Sukuna has cross lines or jagged lines whenever he's using Cleaver Dismantle, because he just wants to destroy everything in his way. But as for Yuji, he has scissors cutting around the area he wants. This goes in line with Yuji as a person because he doesn't just want to wreck everything he sees, and it's more modern compared to the butcher knives. Plus he used cleave and it didn't shred it into pieces. He used it in a way where it was more precise and he was able to use it as an actual weapon or tool to help him. It's not going to be anywhere near Sukuna's output considering Yuji just awakened it, so he's not gonna have that power just yet, or even really refine it. Because even when Yuji cleaved Sukuna's leg, Sukuna kind of brushed it off. He didn't really give a fuck about that, and it really only left a scar on his leg. He hadn't used his mantle yet. I'm curious if the slashes themselves will look a little different as he's going to send them flying in the air. Sukuna is showing legit anger towards Yuji, not only because of the constant black flashes, but because his strike and his slashing combinations are not slowing Yuji down at all. And it has to be an extra sting to Sukuna, because every time Yuji teams with someone, whether it's Higuruma, Yuta, Choso, or Ino, he's been assisting or right now being the lead role in killing him, or at least dealing a ton of damage. After all, Yuji is the complete antithesis of everything Sukuna stands for, and he hates that. To be honest, I think the idea I had of Sukuna respecting Yuji's version of peak strength that can rival his might not actually happen, because why would Sukuna respect and acknowledge a sorcerer who is loved by damn near everyone, has a piece of you and your twin brother inside of him, is using your curse technique, is beating you with the help of friends, he's surpassing the expectations that were put out there by him from Sukuna, and is living up to everything Gojo has said. Yuji might actually be the one person Sukuna truly hates. If you look at all the fights Sukuna had, all the people he's killed, he never really showed any hatred or vile or vitriol nature towards them. He's just being himself. This is the first time he's actually mad at someone. I actually kind of hope this leads to more random lore dumps about Sukuna's past relatives, or even more Kenjaku lore, because Sukuna being Yuji's uncle is just wild to me. I know a lot of people wanted like the brother theory, like maybe Yuji's a reincarnation of Sukuna's brother, or is an actual brother or something, but this one low-key kind of makes more sense, and it makes you wonder if Yuji Itadori was actually someone important, or maybe at least had like a curse technique like Hiyori. And it's also concerning in the back of my head that Sukuna still has yet to use the flame arrow. Maybe one more trick is still up his sleeve, but hopefully by then Hikari can come in as the ultimate meat shield. I must confess, not a huge fan of what Gege is doing with that fight. Yuji's latent awakening is setting him up to not only meet Sukuna's power, but actually to surpass him. May sound crazy at first, but seems pretty legit when you think about it, because he has blood manipulation, RCT, Shrine, Divergent Fist, can do soul damage, a Black Flash Master, an insane durability, and base power on par with a Heavenly Restriction user. It's very possible Yuji will be top 1 or top 2 by the end of the series, and if a domain expansion is possible for Yuji, the boy is going to be a monster. The more I think about it, Yuji's family tree has to be a family started from old sources, because I still think Grandpa Itadori was probably like a menace in his prime. But the twin stuff brings together that question of why Yuji and Sukuna look so similar. You have the answer now. And now I'm questioning why the hell Tengen wanted to look like Sukuna when he took up one of those forms. And Sukuna has never really acknowledged or, went into depth about Tengen. And now that he has Tengen in the palm of his hands to set off the merger, kind of wonder if that's going to come back at some point during this fight. And to talk about Kenjaku, it's funny how out of all the experiments and crazy interventions, Kenjaku didn't even realize Yuji was probably his greatest creation yet. And there's actually still a possibility Yuji could have a third curse technique. Maybe something that awakens from his family, or possibly something more that he's eating, because Yuji's the only character that can eat something and actually gain something from it. And speaking of which, Gege revealing Sukuna ate part of his twin, while Yuji also ate the womb paintings, which were also Choso's brother, was a cool parallel of one acting on instinct, while the other had to ask if it was even okay for him to do this to help people, which I feel like Yuji was probably reluctant in doing so to begin with. But man, we have been eating real good. If you ain't caught up to JJK recently, you took a little break, definitely got to hop on it now. I have this slight feeling in the back of my head Sukuna's low-key gonna pull a little counterattack or counter plan against all of this, because Yuji he's on too much of a good run, and good things must come to an end at some point. But we'll see in the next chapter. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, it helps. Check out the second channel if you're interested. I'll holler at you all in the next one. Peace.